Warm good morning to everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about class and objects in detail. So first, what is a class? So class is an user-defined data type. This class in Java, it consists of both data as well as operations. So data, we call it as variables, and operations, we call it as methods. So everything in Java, we will be giving inside the class. Class is an user-defined data type which consists of variables and methods. It is a template for an object. An object, it is an instance of a class. So this thing you have to remember, class is just a template. It is a template for an object. Object is the instance of a class. For example, class real time we can consider class is a blueprint of a house, whereas object is the actual house that we build. Class does not exist in reality, whereas object exists in reality. Class is just a template. Okay, in this slide, we see the syntax for class definition. So how we define a class. So this is the short representation. We use the class keyword. To create a class, we use the class keyword followed by a class name, which is the user defined name. And we start with open parenthesis to tell that the class, to indicate the beginning of the class, and closed parenthesis to indicate the end of the class. Inside the class, we have variables and methods. So this is the detailed syntax for a class. This is the detailed syntax for a class. We use a class keyword followed by an user-defined class name. So for a class name, you should not use this white spaces between the class name. You should not use keyword as a class name. Okay, all the identifier rules are applicable to this class name. And we start a class, and we end that class, and inside which you can have variables and then methods. Next is object. So object, already we saw object is an instance of a class. Object exists in reality. So to create a class, it is either a two-step process, or we can give it as in a single line and make it as a single step process. But actually internally it doesn't as a two-step. So during the first step, we create an object. We create an object, or we create a reference to a class. We create a reference to a class. So the syntax is class name followed by object name. So the syntax is class name followed by object name is to create an object or to create a reference to a class. The reference to the class is the object. So the syntax is class name followed by object name. For example, if sample is the class name, then here S is an object name. So the object name also an user defined name. It needs to follow the rules of an identifier. And then after that, we need to allocate some memory for that object. So for that purpose, we are using the new operator. Here new acts as an operator used to create some space in memory for the object for the creation of object. So here new is an operator to create some space in memory. So for creating some space in memory, you can give it as object name equal to new class name. So first we create the object. The syntax is class name, object name. After that, we need to allocate memory. For that, we use a new operator. The syntax is object name equal to new class name. So either we can give it as a two-step or in a single step. So this is the syntax combining both these two. Class name, object name equal to new class name. So class name here is sample, S is the object, and using the new operator, we are creating space in memory. So this is how we declare the object. So here we have created a reference S that is pointing to the class sample. This is a simple example. for class definition, so here we use the keyword class. Here the class name is box, and then we start the class, and here we end the class. Inside the class already we saw we can have variables and methods. In this example we have only variables, three variables with height and depth. All these three are of double data type. So class name is box, variables are with height and depth, and in this example we have not used methods. In later we will see the class that involves methods also. This one is object creation for that box class. So previous slide we saw the class name as box, and here the my box is nothing but the object that we have created. So using that syntax, hope you remember class name. So to create the object, the syntax is class name followed by object name. Here in this case it is my box equal to new class name. So this creates an object my box. That is, my box will refer to the class. My box will have its own copy of the variable. So now this my box will have the copy of width, height and depth. And I already said that new operator is used to create memory for the object during runtime. Okay, so this is how we create an object. Either we can give like this in single step, or even we can give like this in double step. And the next thing, so now as of now we have created class and then object, and now what we do is if we want to access the variables, we can use the object, as well as we have to use the dot operator. Remember, using object followed by dot operator, we are able to access the variables. The variables can be accessed using object name followed by dot operator like this. So here the object name we saw in previous slide is my box, dot operator, and the variable we can access the variable width by using the object name dot operator, and here we are assigning some value to the width as 100. This is an entire example of how we used class, how we created a class, how we created an object, and how we access the variables using the object. So these things we have already seen. Class name is box consisting of variables with height and depth, and here we have another class box demo, where inside this class we create object for the box class. So this line we create the object my box. Okay, and then here we are going to calculate the volume. Hence we just declare a variable as VOL to to create the volume of to know the volume of this box. So using the object name by my box and using the dot operator, we are accessing the variables with height and depth, and we are assigning some values to it. Width as 10, height as 20, and depth as 15. And then volume of box is nothing but product of width, height and depth, and here we give it as my box dot width star my box dot height star my box dot depth, which calculates the product of width, height and depth, and the volume is stored in the variable VOL. And finally this print system.out.println is the output method in Java, and whatever you give it in double quotes, it will be printed as such. So it prints volume as such, and then plus is an concatenation operator, which is very important. You have to remember always. Plus is the concatenation operator, and then we print the volume. So the output what we get here is volume it prints the volume of the box. It is the product of 10 into 20 into 15. So this is a simple example for usage of class and objects. But remember, in this class we have seen only the variables. In later examples we will see how methods are also included in classes. Okay, thank you everyone.